Hey, I'm Joe DeGanzik, and this is Lighting Answers. We normally talk about LED light bulbs, product reviews, we give you some lighting design tips. We tie it all back together with home automation and the Internet of Things, and that's been the topic of late because it's been in the news with many different announcements from the big tech companies, including today, June 8th, although you're probably watching this on June 9th, Apple had their Worldwide Developer Conference, short WWDC, in San Francisco, and they talked about many different things, some of which we expected, some of which people didn't, but for most of us here in the home automation world, we were expecting a lot, and Apple gave us just a little bit. Some journalists over the past couple weeks had kind of tamped down some expectations, saying there's not going to be an Apple TV device, there's not going to be, some new smart home hub, and that we're not really sure what's going to go on with HomeKit. Last week, of course, some HomeKit compatible devices debuted. We reviewed one, and here's the link somewhere or up there, wherever it is, to click on to take a look at that, and we'll give you some more little demos of that stuff later on in this episode. But let's talk about what Apple actually did talk about, because, well, they didn't talk about much. They actually talked for less time about HomeKit than Google talked about with their HomeKit version, Weave, and then their little mini operating system for tiny devices called Project Brillo. Google talked about it for about 6.5 minutes at Google I/O last month, and Apple talked about all of their home automation stuff and HomeKit stuff, their platform, for about 3 minutes. So there's iOS 9, which is the logical successor to what we have now, which is iOS 8. And that is in developers' hands today and in public beta in July, and iOS 9 will roll out, they say, the fall. We think, of course, September. There will be new iPhones that will come out. They generally pair those up. What did they actually talk about with HomeKit and iOS 9? Well, they said that HomeKit is getting additional devices that can support things such as security systems, sensors, things like smoke detectors and whatnot, and also blind and shade control, in addition to controlling lights and thermostats and the usual things that you would think of with home automation. And they have we've got kind of a graphic up on the screen that talks about that from them, from the show. What else did they say? Well, let's see. Oh, that's right. iCloud capability, so when you're away from home, you'll be able to control these devices through iCloud. They didn't specifically say how that works, which is weird because it's actually built in and operating right now. But anyways, we'll talk about that more a little bit later. So the other thing, of course, the good old Apple Watch just came out 6 weeks ago, and they announced they have a whole new version of the software called watchOS 2.0 coming out this fall. Makes sense, everything is coming out in the fall. But what did they add to that? Well, not a whole lot, but enough little tidbits that it's going to be pretty amazing. They talked first about third-party complications. Complications is an old watch term that's coming back because of Apple's kind of recoinage of it, using it for the watch and the watch faces. I use these complications all the time. They're little bits of information, graphical displays or text displays in the corners or at the top or the bottom of certain watch faces. And they give you information, maybe your calendar or exercise information, and then you can also tap on them and go right to that app and go right to that information. Very handy. So now they're going to allow third-party developers to add those in so that you'll be able to gain access to things such as your smart home devices, the lighting and other controls right from the watch face, which makes it much more convenient. Then you can tap, go right to their app. Speaking of third parties, and third-party developers, they're going to allow you to actually run these apps. Not really you don't have to worry about it, but they're going to allow the apps to fully natively run on the watch, which means that the sort of sluggish performance that many of us have experienced with third-party apps on the watch will be mostly gone or go away, which would be super. It also brings other things to the game, such as Apple allowing access to all the other cool stuff on the watch and bringing all that good software and all the goodies together. Things such as Siri and, of course, HomeKit. So right now you can't even talk to Siri on the watch and have her do anything with HomeKit, even though you can on your iOS devices. So in the fall, you'll be able to talk to Siri on the watch and have her control, or him, her, whatever voice profile you have it set up, that you'll be able to do those controls. So what's left for the fall? Well, you know, like I said, they didn't talk about much else home automation related at WWDC today. There may be more things that we find out during the week, since the conference does run until the end of the week. Your questions are what drives our Q&A episodes, so send them in, along with your feedback or maybe even a product you might like us to review. Subscribe to Lighting Answers on YouTube and get every single one of our episodes right when they come out. If you enjoy our episodes, please think about becoming a supporter of Lighting Answers through Patreon or right here on YouTube. Every little bit helps make the show even better and brighter. Thank you for your support. So before we get to the fall and our predictions for September, the question is, what can you do right now? And I also want to point out that Apple has a 1-year head start on Google in terms of the home automation space. Google may have bought Nest last spring, in spring of 2014, and Apple has not gone out and bought a hardware company for home automation purposes, but they did initiate HomeKit. They have a year leg up. Google announced their competitive services and products software-wise, but they're not going to be out until the end of this year, and there probably will not be products except for Nest that support them until 2016. And what most people don't realize is that there are actual products available right now, well, at least one, and we reviewed it with a quick review last week, and we'll do a demo here. But HomeKit is already in iOS 8. If you have at least iOS 8.1, but in general you should have iOS 8.3, HomeKit is there. If you want, and this is not something that's new to the world in terms of being able to talk to your lights and turn them on and off and do some basic functions. If you want to be able to do this right now, there is at least one product that is actually shipping that's from Lutron. I can literally talk to Siri and make this stuff happen. Hey Siri, turn off the lights.
Okay, the lights are turned off.
And you get instant feedback. I can say, hey Siri, brighten the lights.
How can I help you?
And Siri's not always available. Brighten the lights.
Okay, I set both of the lights to 5.
And you can see the lights came on a little bit, but I can turn them all the way up. Hey Siri, turn on the lights.
Okay, the lights are turned on.
Kind of a shortcut to just getting them to 100%, but you can set them to any percentage that you want. I'll set them back to 30. Hey Siri, set the lights to 30.
Okay, I set both of the lights to 30.
Now you can't, or I can't seem to gain control through Siri of commanding the lights individually, but you can set up zones and rooms, and you can name the lights, but right now some people have had better success in controlling them separately. But there are actually back there 2 separate modules, but I wanted to do something extra for the demo, but it just wouldn't work. So the Apple TV is the other thing. If you have the latest version of the Apple TV and the latest version of its software, of which I don't because I have an older version, the original Apple TV came out in 2010, the small one. I don't have the 3rd generation. If you have the latest generation, you can also run these Siri commands right from your iPhone or iOS device from outside your home, because the Apple TV will connect up through iCloud just like they talked about. And it's actually running and up and running right now. People don't realize that. But there's not a lot of products out there, aside from the Lutron system and the other ones coming soon, that are on pre-order now and shipping later this month. So we'll talk about more of that when those things come out. We'll give you the demo. But again, it's out there if you want it. If you want to wait till the fall or more products come out, or Apple does some big announcement around home automation, then go right ahead. What do I think is going to happen in the fall? It's tough to say, but Apple seems to be treading lightly right now. They want the HomeKit system to be out there. The products are starting to ship, which means they'll be out there. Apple can look at it during the testing period for iOS 9 and watchOS 2.0 and make some adjustments so that when that software does come out, they will probably make a much bigger deal about it with the new versions of iOS 9, watchOS, with Siri and voice control being on your wrist. I use Siri a lot more on the watch than I ever did on the phone, because it's a lot more reliable and it's always there. And for home automation, that could be really a big game changer. And I might even walk around my house and actually use voice commands and not press buttons, but I still like a combination. So I think Apple will be firing on all thrusters, new products out, things that are really starting to gel finally, and they've taken a step back and said, we're gonna polish some things up in terms of software and bugs instead of just releasing feature after feature after feature to compete with everybody. So I think it's gonna be an interesting fall if you're in the Apple world. If you're not, then well, we'll talk about other products from other manufacturers when they are announced for other ecosystems. So that is basically it. What are we going to do? We're going to have some collaborations coming up. Like I said, my friend Brad has the Insteon Hub Pro, which is HomeKit enabled on pre-order. That comes out at the end of this month. So we'll do a demo showing multiple home automation systems being controlled through HomeKit, through Siri, which will be pretty cool to see how they actually interact and if they fire off the commands at the same time. And we've got other really awesome stuff coming up for you this summer. So stay tuned to Lighting Answers for all of your lighting information needs, from light bulbs and the advanced LED stuff to lighting design tips to home automation news and product reviews. Otherwise, I'm Joe DeGanzik reminding you to get out there and automate and brighten your world. I'll see you next time.